Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 59-year-old Ohio resident William Dunfee is a pastor for New Beginnings Ministry. Doesn't that sound nice? That's what he's going to need after this, a new beginning. So in late December of 2020, Dunfee encouraged other members of his congregation to go with him to D.C. He told them, quote, "The government, the tyrants, the socialists, the Marxists, the progressives, the rhinos, they fear you. And they should. Our problem is we haven't given them reason to fear us. As I said earlier in another previous sermon, is this, they used to tell us, you know what, you settle your differences at the ballot. How did that work out for us? It's not over. January 4th through 6th. Are you ready?" So on January 6th, Dunfee was seen at the Capitol, on the Capitol grounds. He was standing on a raised flower bed. He was yelling through a megaphone, and he told the crowd, quote, "This election has been stolen right out from underneath our noses, and it is time for the American people to rise up. Today is the day in which it is that these elected officials realize that we are no longer playing games. Listen, our elected officials, our senators, our House representatives, the congressmen need to understand they work for us and they need to fear us." And he told someone that he was with, quote, "grassroots and Christian patriots here to stop the steal and do what we can do." Dunfee then yelled and he tried to incite the crowd more. Literally for hours he was doing this. He said, quote, "What's the purpose of these gates right here? What's the purpose of these gates? It's to keep you away from our house." So someone in the crowd screamed, "Let's go in." And Dunfee said, quote, we're going to, we intend to take it." So Dunfee also ordered the mob to, quote, "fight for Trump, hold the line." And then he issued a threat. He yelled, quote, "Mr. Police Officers, we want you to understand something. We want you to understand something. We want Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump is not coming, we are taking our house. We are taking our house. Give us Trump or give us our house." And then Dunfee directed the attack. So at one point he told everyone, quote, "Reinforcements around back. If you are able to move around back, they need some support around back." And then other January 6 defendants told the FBI after they got busted that Dunfee personally directed them to coordinate an attack against the police. He told them, spread yourselves out along the barricades and then push at the same time. So according to these men, Dunfee said, "I'm going to give you a signal and then you guys start pushing." He said, "I'm going to start praying and then that's when you attack." So some of these January 6 participants told the FBI that Dunfee had about, quote, 40 people under his control. So these are the people he brought with him from his church. And some of Dunfee's congregation approached members of the Proud Boys and tried to recruit them to attack the barricades. So one of these people was referred to as Associate One in the sentencing memo, and the prosecutor has this man on video. So he's standing there talking to members of the Proud Boys. They couldn't make out everything that was said, but the government says Associate One was heard using phrases like, "take the building." Now, eventually, they see Associate One walks away. He comes back a little bit later with Dunfee, and then Dunfee was seen talking with the Proud Boys. Now, the prosecutor admits they don't have any audio of the conversation with Dunfee and the Proud Boys members. And the Proud Boy members, or one of them, testified that his group was approached by a pastor who asked if they would be willing to, quote, go through the gates to the steps of the Capitol. And on January 8th of 2021, Dunfee's associate, the guy that approached them, he was a guest on a podcast, and he told that podcast audience, quote, we seen Wednesday, I think on the south side of the building we were on, probably 5,000 or 6,000 people. These people are looking for a leader. These people, 10 to 2, they listened as Pastor Bill stood on the platform with that bullhorn, and he kept just pumping them up. But he give them scripture. He give them the Constitution. And buddy, when it was time to knock the gates over, they were ready. But for 4 hours, we got that to work that crowd, and it was intense. Where to start? Where to start? I mean, I just have to say, this is one of my pet peeves, guys. I will not very often step in and try to correct someone, but it saw. We saw Wednesday. You didn't seen it, you saw it. You can be seen, or you can say, I've seen that before, or I've seen that in the past, but you saw something. Just a pet peeve of mine. I'm sorry. Anyway, that one bugs the crap out of me. It was in elementary school we learned that, for God's sakes. Anyway, so back to Dunfee. Close to 2 p.m., he decided he was going to take matters into his own hands, literally, because nobody else was doing it. So he approached the police line. He grabs onto a barricade. He lifts it in the air. And along with other people, he wasn't doing this alone, they pushed against the police with these barricades. So the prosecutor said this was the very first instance of violence on the east front of the Capitol that day. And Dunfee and some of the others temporarily breached the gates, and they got through, but then they were forced back behind them. So then Dunfee starts negotiating with the police, and he was doing what the prosecutor referred to as, or making what the prosecutor referred to as thinly veiled threats. So he said to them, quote, for safety's sake, the officers should let them through. And then he said that the mob, quote, would push if we got a push. So when all of that failed, Dunfee resorted to more violence. So he started pushing against the police with his back, turned around, starts pushing with his back. And he said, as he's doing this, quote, all right, we are going to the steps. We are going to the steps. You can fight us. Real man of God there. So this time, the mob was successful. They breached the barricade. Dunfee makes a run for it, and there's an officer on his heels trying to stop him. So Dunfee is spinning around, he's maneuvering, he's, doing all this stuff, bobbing and weaving. He ends up tripping a woman on his way to the Capitol. She falls down on the concrete, and he keeps going. He spun around and raises his arms in the air, and he's celebrating. Again, real man of God, knocks a woman down on the concrete, and he's like, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. I mean, my God, these people. Anyway, so eventually Dunfee made it to the rotunda doors of the Capitol. He was evading the police. He's resisting various officers along the way. And as he's standing outside, a man told Dunfee, quote, we did it. We shut them all down. We did our job. So Dunfee yells to the crowd, hallelujah, mission accomplished. As a direct quote. Sometime after that, he left the Capitol grounds. And then in May of 2021, Dunfee told his congregation, quote, we show up January 6th at the Capitol building, right? To let it be known that we are not going to stand back and let an election be stolen, that we are going to hold our legislators accountable, and so on and so forth. And what did that get us? We are all deemed what? Huh? A bunch of terrorists, right? I can tell you, having been there, that we were surrounded by patriots. Many, 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 many patriots. You are not stealing this election. So Dunfee was arrested on October 5th of 2022, and he was charged with obstructing an official proceeding, civil disorder, entering restricted grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and 2 counts of physical violence. Even after his arrest, Mr. Pastor Man lied. He lied about what he did at the Capitol, of course, portrayed himself as a hero, as they all do. So he wrote this article for the Wisconsin Christian News, and in it, Dunfee said, quote, that they did not, or he did not cause the civil discord, did not obstruct official business, and he claimed that he, quote, prevented the Capitol barricade from being broken. So then, of course, he asked for money. At the end of the article, oh, can you help me out? Help a brother out, give me a donation. So he refused a plea deal. Dunfee opted for a bench trial. And in January of 2024, the judge convicted Dunfee of civil disorder, obstructing an official proceeding, and entering restricted grounds. Because of the Supreme Court's absurd ruling on the obstruction charge, the court dismissed that conviction against him. Otherwise, would have been facing over 20 years in prison. So based on the 2 remaining counts, he was facing up to 6 years in prison, 4 years of probation, and $350,000 in fines. This time, the government asked for a decent sentence. They asked for 4 years in prison, 2 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. This was an upward variance from what the probation office recommended. They recommended 12 to 18 months. The prosecutor, though, argued in a footnote, quote, the Sentencing Commission failed to anticipate anything like the January 6th riot when drafting the guidelines. And the Supreme Court's recent decision in the United States v. Fisher demonstrates that even the criminal code lacks the appropriate tools to fully address the crimes of January 6th. So at least they are taking steps to shore up the damage done by Trump's Supreme Court lunatics. And at the sentencing hearing, Dunfee changed his tune. What do you know? He told the judge what he did at the Capitol was wrong. And he said it was, quote, disrespectful to the law and those whose job it is to enforce it. I mean, he said he didn't do anything wrong, though, right? Yeah. And then he actually had the ovaries to ask the judge to consider his 6 grandsons and not sentence him to prison. How about you consider your 6 grandsons, right? How about if you had considered them and sat your ass home, Dunfee? Trump was more important to you than your grandsons. So welcome to the find out phase. Luckily, U.S. District Judge Reggie Walton presided over Dunfee's case. He is one of the tougher January 6 judges. And he questioned Dunfee's incitement of violence. Judge Walton asked him, quote, what kind of man of God would do that, sir? Good question. So in the end, he agreed to an upward variance, but he sentenced Dunfee to only 30 months in prison, 3 years of probation, a $10,000 fine, and $2,000 in restitution. And the judge did something unusual. He ordered the guards, I forget who it is in court, but anyway, he ordered them to take Dunfee into custody immediately. I guess it's never mind. Anyway, I lost it. It was there for a second, then whoop, it just ran away. Anyway, yeah, normally they allow them to surrender at a later date. So this is almost always the way that they do it. They're like, okay, sentenced to XYZ, you need to report by blah, 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 blah date. And then they count on them to show up of their own accord, unless they're a violent offender. If they're really seriously violent and a danger to society, they take them into custody right away. And he's like, yeah, oh, the marshals, it came back. It ran back to me. So the U.S. Marshals are probably the ones who took him into custody. But reporters were in the courtroom, and they said that Dunfee's family and his friends appeared very shocked by the judge's decision to haul him off right then and there. So, yay. So yeah, I mean, play stupid games, as they say. So he will, be in prison for less than 3 years. So he will not be voting for Donald Trump in November, will not be free during the next election, may not ever see Trump alive again. And it's funny because, they'll say, oh, this guy, he's got so many health issues and we're so worried about it and blah, 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 blah. Really? I didn't see him struggling with health issues as he was knocking a woman down, as he was running to the Capitol. Where were those health issues then? And here's the silver lining, really, for Dunfee. He is finally going to get to meet God, right? He's a man of God. He's finally going to get to meet him because, as I understand it, prison is where everyone finds him. So, silver lining. All right. I will let you know if I hear any more. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.